That day, the atmosphere at the royal palace was truly lively. The sun shone brightly, illuminating the windows of the ancient castles. People from all over the world had gathered here, from affluent tourists to ordinary families, all eager to witness the grand spectacle of the changing of the guard ceremony. The palace gates slowly opened, and a group of guards in red uniforms, wearing black fur hats, marched out with serious expressions. They stood still like living statues, their eyes cold and unwavering, their steps strong and incredibly precise. Every movement they made adhered strictly to the traditions passed down through generations. Amid the crowd, a young man named Kevin stood, enthralled by the scene. Kevin was the type of person who always craved attention, someone who could not tolerate silence, and certainly could not pass up an opportunity to be the center of attention. Laughing and talking, he held up his phone, filming as though he were an influencer on social media, always looking for ways to draw eyes and cameras his way. "Look at them, they're just standing there. Is this all they do?" Kevin said to his friends, his eyes full of mockery. "They're like statues. Isn't there anyone who can challenge them?" His friends tried to warn him, but their advice fell on deaf ears. Kevin, too accustomed to being noticed, had no hesitation in expressing his disdain for the guards who stood watch. Unlike other tourists, Kevin soon grew incredibly bored. He saw the guards standing still, unmoving, and felt extremely frustrated. Why don't they react? Can't they do anything other than stand there? Kevin muttered to himself, then turned to his friends, awaiting their response. But his friends just shook their heads, suggesting that the situation should not go too far. However, Kevin was not one to back down easily. He decided to test the guard's patience by walking closer to one of the soldiers and waving his hand in front of his face. Smiling, he noticed how the people around him seemed increasingly uncomfortable. The guard remained still, his eyes forward, expression unchanging. Kevin felt like he had one. Then, an idea popped into Kevin's head. "Let's see if he reacts to a little hot sauce," he thought. He glanced over to a corner and noticed a bottle of Tabasco sauce he had bought from a nearby gift shop. Kevin decided this was the perfect moment to experiment. He quickly opened the bottle, feeling the heat of the liquid inside, then without thinking further, splashed some of it onto the guard's face. The excitement made him grin, as though he was about to make a scene. The moment the hot sauce touched the guard's face, Kevin felt as though time had stopped. The crowd went silent, a faint murmur rising from the onlookers. Kevin stared at the guard, expecting a reaction. But contrary to Kevin's expectations, the guard merely blinked slightly and turned his head, trying to clear the burning sensation. In reality, this action disrupted the stillness of the palace. The crowd ceased moving. All eyes turned to Kevin. Whispers began to circulate, some eyes filled with disgust and others with anger. "How rude," said a wealthy woman, her voice dripping with disdain. "Don't tell me he thinks this is funny," an elderly man remarked in protest. Kevin stood there, confused, as everything around him seemed to change rapidly. He tried to laugh it off, clapping his hands, but no one joined in. His friends stepped away, distancing themselves from him. Meanwhile, the guard, maintaining his stance, said nothing and showed no sign of reaction. It was at that moment that Kevin realized the seriousness of the situation. A palace security officer approached him from behind, stepped forward, and demanded that Kevin follow him. Kevin sat silently in a small room, the weight of the situation bearing down on him. The officer's warnings echoed in his mind, and there seemed to be no escape. His heart raced, seemingly at odds with the calm he had tried to maintain. Having heard many stories of tourists facing trouble during their travels, Kevin never imagined that he would be the one caught in such a predicament. He looked down at his hands, the guilt starting to wash over him. It was just a joke. Just a joke? How did it turn out like this? Kevin thought to himself, but the images of the crowd glaring at him and the whispers from all around him made him feel trapped in his own shame. The officers sat across from him, not showing any sign of frustration or impatience. They pointed out that his actions were not merely a harmless joke, but a serious offense. You've assaulted a national servant. This is an act of disrespect, not just a simple prank. This could be considered a crime, and we need to handle this according to the law, they emphasized. each word making Kevin more and more anxious. They explained that the incident would be reported to his embassy, which made Kevin feel even more trapped. Though he hadn't intended to cause trouble, the reality was that his actions had hurt not only the guard but also those who had witnessed the event. The hours passed as Kevin was taken to a quieter part of the palace. He began to realize the depth of what had just happened. He had once thought that a simple apology would resolve the matter, but it was far more complicated than that. His actions had hurt a person and damaged his own reputation, not to mention the image of a tourist who disrespects the culture and traditions of another country. Meanwhile, the incident quickly became a storm on social media. Videos of the event spread rapidly, and every time Kevin checked his phone, he saw himself being attacked by thousands of strangers. The criticisms, the harsh comments, and even threats made him dizzy. "He doesn't deserve to be called a tourist," one comment read. "Unbelievable. How could he do this to a guard who was just doing his job?" Another comment wrote. Kevin felt cornered. He scrolled through the notifications, seeing thousands of shares and comments condemning his actions. Some of his former close friends had turned their backs on him. "You've ruined yourself, Kevin. We warned you," one friend wrote, making him feel even worse. Kevin's image had been shared widely across social media, and now he was the target of intense public criticism. He wanted to escape, but he knew there was no way out. The crowd's angry glares, the bright lights in the videos, all seemed to weigh heavily on him. He felt as though he were a prisoner of his own mistake. Seeing no other way to justify himself, Kevin decided to take a significant step, a public apology. He knew that his apology couldn't undo what had happened, but at least he could do something right. He sat in front of the camera in a quiet room, trying to compose himself. "Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Wilson, and I want to sincerely apologize to the guard and everyone else for my thoughtless actions at the royal palace," he began, his voice trembling. "My actions were unacceptable, and I fully realized that it was not just a harmless prank. I offended not only one person but also the traditions and history of a nation. I apologize from the bottom of my heart." He continued to share his feelings. "I've learned a valuable lesson, not just about respect, but about how my actions can affect others in ways I never imagined. I never thought I would face such serious consequences, but now I understand that my actions have far-reaching impacts." After the apology video was posted, Kevin started receiving some positive responses. Although not everyone forgave him immediately, some people recognized the sincerity of his apology. One comment read, "At least he is taking responsibility, which is much more important than pretending nothing happened." However, despite receiving some sympathy, Kevin still felt that his conscience was not at peace. Meanwhile, William, the guard who had been assaulted, continued with his duties without any change in his demeanor. He didn't need the apology, but he realized that Kevin's actions had brought awareness to an important lesson: respect. William hadn't reacted to Kevin's behavior earlier simply because he understood that staying calm was his job. But now, he saw that his actions had helped Kevin realize his mistake, and while he didn't need the apology, he felt relieved to know that Kevin had learned the valuable lesson of respect and cultural awareness. Kevin continued to find ways to make amends. He joined community activities to help others better understand the importance of respecting cultural values and traditions. Though no one asked him to, he decided that he would dedicate time to learning and changing. In the end, Kevin understood that his actions could never be undone, but he had begun a new journey, a journey of change. His actions had taught him that even small events could have huge consequences. He was no longer a careless tourist looking for attention, but had become someone who understood the value of respect, learning from the mistakes of the past. Kevin's journey toward redemption wasn't over, but at least he had started on the right path. From shame to awareness and self-improvement, he would never forget the lesson William had unintentionally taught him, that respect is more valuable than any prank. Kevin's story was not just about a single incident, but a lesson in growth, action, and understanding between people. Kevin's journey may just seem like a simple story about a joke gone wrong, but it offers a profound lesson on respect and taking responsibility for one's actions. In a modern society where every action can ripple out and affect millions through social media, the lesson of respect is never too much. We all make mistakes, but what matters is how we confront and fix those mistakes. No one is perfect, and we cannot avoid times when we act without thinking. However, it is through these moments of mistake that we can learn and grow. Kevin learned that an action that seemed harmless could cause significant harm to others, and that respect is not just a word, but a mindset and an action in everything we do. Another lesson I think we should take from this story is about self-awareness. Kevin had to face the consequences of his actions and didn't try to blame anyone else. He took a hard look at himself, admitted his mistake, and learned how to improve. This shows that maturity is not only a long process, but it's also about recognizing faults and working toward doing better. When we not only recognize our mistakes, but also work to fix them, we are beginning to become better versions of ourselves. This story also reminds us of the importance of patience and perseverance. William, the guard, demonstrated not only patience but also professionalism and respect for his job. Even when disrespected, he maintained his composure and continued performing his duties. This is a lesson in calmness and endurance in all situations, a quality we can all learn to apply in our daily lives. If you are following this story, I hope you will take a moment to think about how even the smallest of our actions can affect those around us. We never truly know what consequences our actions might bring, whether it's a joke or an offhand comment. So, take the time to think about what you do, what you say, and how it impacts others. And when you face difficult situations or make mistakes, don't be afraid to take responsibility. Owning up to mistakes and fixing them not only helps you grow, but it also helps create a better world. We may not change the past, but we can change the future, starting with the decisions and actions we take in the present. Remember, respect is not just about how we treat others, but also how we treat ourselves. If you found this story meaningful, don't hesitate to share it with those around you to help create an environment where respect and responsibility are at the forefront. Thank you for following this story, and I hope you will learn and grow with me from each lesson that life has to offer. Share this story and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's spread the message of respect, responsibility, and patience to build a better community together.